Evening, folks. Brian here, Geomagnetic Earthwatch on Thursday, March 23, 2023 on our planet. I hope you're well. That's me. I have a 14-year-old autistic daughter who sometimes needs my attention more often than not, so there's going to be periods of time I'm not going to be here. But me and my friend, we're back. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on our planet right now with the geomagnetic storm instability from that large coronal hole opening of our sun. Now, in general, geomagnetic storms originating from a coronal hole are not as severe as a coronal mass ejection, CME, generally. However, a lot of people seem to forget our protective magnetosphere is already destabilizing and weakening due to the geomagnetic excursion of our both north and south geomagnetic poles. So it is generally believed that we are already lost 25% field strength. Now, going over different reporting agencies, some feel that we could be reaching G4 extreme geomagnetic storm conditions. Now, certainly, from my daily observations, our planet is indeed responding from a sudden uptick in earthquakes, including deep earthquakes and including earthquakes at our volcanic regions, for example, Mauna Loa. Deep earthquakes, Philippines, Banda Sea, Indonesia. Earthquakes pushing up underneath Australia, etc., 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 an excessive amount of heat coming up. Remember, and for those of you who are new, I often use this. This is Earth's crust. This is a mantle plume. Mantle plumes are anchored to the outer core of our planet, where our magnetic field is generated from. Our mantle plume heads, when coming on contact underneath the lithosphere and the Earth's crust, can spread. They can spread to thousands of kilometers in diameters. They can have branches, arms, nodes. And so because of changes that we're not too sure exactly of within the outer core where our magnetic field lines are generated from, those changes can be represented by what I call magma wave actions coming up the magma plume arm to the magma plume head, rising heat and pressure, hence all those heat indications that sometimes I see globally. Especially the magma plume underneath the Australia, Coral Sea, Indonesia region, because of our enhanced solar winds impacting us, an extended long duration. Now, a CME impact, a coronal mass ejection, which can contain billions of tons of highly charged particles, is one thing, yes, and that can last for minutes to hours. However, with this coronal hole opening, this is going to be a long duration event, peaking up to G3, possibly G4 extreme geomagnetic storm conditions, and continuing on to tomorrow at that level before it gradually descends to G2 and G1. And again, our planet is already responding, but let's not forget about, what's up in here. The effects of the highly charged particles on the human brain. Remember, the human brain operates off of electrical impulses. When you introduce highly charged particles, you can have your neurological responses, headaches, migraines, dizziness, tinnitus, neuropsychological responses, moody, irritable, cognitive deficits, remembering, paying attention, reasoning, acts of rage, aggression, violence, murder, suicide, physiological changes. Please pay attention to anybody with any cardiac issues. And more importantly, anybody with any mental health issues. I've said this a number of times. I'm going to continue to say it because I have personal first-hand experiences on the effects of the human brain during these events. And even for someone such as myself, who is completely knowledgeable of the impacts of the enhanced solar wind streams and geomagnetic storm conditions, be it from a coronal hole opening to CMEs, even for people like us, keeping our emotions in check as we are caring for those who are more susceptible to the effects of the highly charged particles on the human brain. Excuse me. Have you people been taking your daily jab? Okay, I taught you this, all right? Smoothies, berries with sunflower shoot microgreens. Okay, I showed you how to make your own microgreens. Let's get to it, okay? So already our planet is already responding. I expect it to continue. And like I said, that whole region around and under Australia is responding. So far as everywhere west of Australia, the area around Fiji in the Coral Sea is at this time silent. So what else? Pay attention to those predictive programming news articles out there that talk about the progression of the magnetic poles. Now, they do not use the proper term magnetic excursion, but they are slowly leaking out that information to us. Predictive programming. And once again, the United Nations is at it again about the climate change this and the climate change that. Now, if you really pay attention, if you're really in tune to what's going on, that whole narrative started many, many years ago as a cover story for the effects of the gravitational and electromagnetic influence of a large foreign body, planetary body coming into our system. That indeed they did discover quite a few years ago. So with all the, in my opinion, orchestrated distractions in the world that's going on right now, and the United Nations headline after headline after headline, week after week, they're wrapping it up again and allowing certain other information for us to gradually absorb up here and to prepare us. Correction, not us, because a lot of us are already awake. We know what's coming. We know what to expect. And for those of you who are spiritually awake, you know where all this ends up. So anyway, there's going to be times when I'm going to be away. I ain't going to be here. I might be able to do a text, post a picture from my phone. For the rest of you who have children or even adults who have mental health issues, ASD, autistic spectrum disorder, autism, OCD, anxiety, depression, ADHD, schizophrenia, etc., etc., etc. These are all going to be amplified during these geomagnetic storm conditions. And they are going to demand much, much more of our attention and knowledge. And the sad thing parents, is you have to be the psychologist and you have to be the psychiatrist, because there's not enough out there. In my region of British Columbia, it's 24 to 26 months to get your child in for assessment through the government. To find people like a pediatrician slash psychiatrist, you're looking at a year. You got to go to medical and psychological school, and you have to learn it yourself. Anyway, folks, that's enough for now, right? Cosmic rays are making my tongue trip. Okay, see you later.